Hello, my name is Reverend Dr. May Elise Cannon. Today is Wednesday, July 31st, 299 days since October 7th. The past 24 to 48 hours might be game changers in terms of both Hamas's capacity and also in terms of whether or not we're on the brink of a broader Middle East war. You might have heard my daily update yesterday. Israel's much anticipated retaliatory strike yesterday evening. At least one person was killed and dozens were reportedly injured in an airstrike that slammed into a densely populated neighborhood in Beirut, the Lebanese capital. Israeli authorities said that they had targeted the top Hezbollah commander of the Lebanese Shia organization in response to the attack of the 12 children in the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights over the weekend. But at the time of writing, which I wrote in the middle of the night last night, it was not clear whether or not Fouad Shukr was among the casualties. Then I've been up quite late the last couple of nights. In the middle of the night last night, the Washington Post reported, as did other international news outlets, Ismail Haniyeh, the head of Hamas, his political operations, was killed in Iran. Hamas announced that this morning. He was in Tehran after participating in the inauguration of Iran's new president. He has led Hamas in Gaza for more than a decade. According to the New York Times, Haniyeh is one of the most senior Hamas leaders. He was assassinated in Iran, and the country's Revolutionary Guards Corps and Hamas both reported that today. This is a severe blow to the Palestinian armed group, and this assassination threatens to engulf the entire region, the entire Middle East, in further conflict. What do we know about Ismail Haniyeh? According to the New York Times, he was one of the most senior leaders of Hamas for the last 20 years. In recent years, he's run the militant group's political operations. He's been in exile in Qatar. On Tuesday, Mr. Haniyeh was in Iran with other senior members of Iran's Axis to Resistance, quote, which includes Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and the Houthis in Yemen. He was there again to attend the inauguration of Iran's newly elected president. Some of the analysis has been, that it's quite interesting that he was not assassinated while in Qatar, and that, Iran must be quite concerned that Israeli intelligence is so, this was a major, major accomplishment for Israeli intelligence. Last night, Iran held an emergency meeting of their Supreme National Security Council at their Supreme Leader's residence, an event that only happens under the most extraordinary of circumstances, according to Iranian officials. The commander of the Quds forces, which oversees the militant networks of militias aligned with Iran, was also at the meeting. The Quds force is one of the 5 branches of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards, and they specialize in unconventional warfare and military intelligence operations. And that should be differentiated from the Al-Qassam brigades, which is the military wing of Hamas. I think I've misspoken about that in one of my previous daily updates. So what's been the response to Haniyeh's assassination? Hamas confirmed that he was killed. They said that it was a treacherous Zionist raid on his residence in Tehran. Israel has yet to claim responsibility for his death. Haniyeh was killed after a guided missile hit the apartment in which he was staying in Tehran. That was according to a Saudi news outlet. An Iranian source told Lebanon's Al Mayadeen that the missile was fired from outside of the country. Hamas's military wing said Haniyeh's killing would take the battle to new dimensions, that it would have major repercussions. Senior Hamas official Khalil Ahaya said that Hamas, Iran, and Lebanon would not let the assassination pass quietly. Assassinations don't impact Hamas. Hamas fighters have commanders of their own, and they will continue to fight until Sinwar and Hamas leadership tells them that there is a deal, said a Gazan source close to Hamas. That was according to Reuters. The Iranian president, Pezeshkian, said that Iran will defend its territorial integrity and will make the terrorist occupiers regret this cowardly act. That was according to Iranian media. His vice president, Aref, said that Iran has no intention of escalating the Middle East conflict. Iran's Revolutionary Guards said in a statement, the killing of Haniyeh will be met with a harsh and painful response, while Supreme Leader Khamenei said that avenging Haniyeh's assassination is Tehran's duty because it occurred in the Iranian capital. The U.S. Secretary of State Blinken said that the U.S. was not involved in or made aware of the intention to assassinate Haniyeh, and Iran's foreign ministry said it emphasizes U.S. responsibility for the assassination because of its support of Israel. It has the right to respond appropriately because of the aggressive action against its sovereignty. That was Iran's foreign ministry talking about U.S. culpability and responsibility. I did hear on Capitol Hill in BC today, there was quite a bit of conversation about Blinken being caught off guard and having said in an interview that the U.S. was not involved in and was caught unawares about the situation. Palestinian President Abbas condemned the despicable assassination and called on the Palestinian public to stand tall and show unity, patience, and stability in the face of Israeli occupation. The Iraqi militia Hezbollah said, this is Iraqi militia, Kataib Hezbollah, said that Haniyeh's killing in Tehran broke all rules of engagement. So this is Kataib Hezbollah, which is different than the Iranian Hezbollah, that this killing in Tehran broke all rules of engagement. And Qatar's foreign ministry said the assassination of Haniyeh was a heinous crime, a dangerous act, and a violation of international and humanitarian laws that would destroy the possibility of achieving peace. Egypt said that Haniyeh's killing indicates a lack of Israeli political will for de-escalating tensions in the region, and Jordan's foreign ministry condemned the assassination and blamed Israel for breaking international law and harming regional stability. Germany's foreign minister said that Hamas is a terrorist organization that has carried out brutal terrorist attacks against Israel. The main issue is to prevent a regional flare-up and to not cause the entire region to plunge into chaos. And Russia's foreign ministry said all parties should refrain from steps that would trigger a large-scale conflict, which is interesting because they didn't talk about a Middle East conflict. They talked about a large-scale conflict. So we've been saying, like, let's prevent broader Middle East war, which broader Middle East war involves Egypt, Jordan, Qatar, Iran, Lebanon, Israel, the United States, all of these types of things, broader Middle East war. If you have Turkey, Russia, China, and the US involved, then you're talking about, that's a large scale conflict. So Russia's foreign minister saying that is disconcerting. China and Turkey condemned the assassination. It's been revealed once again that the government of Netanyahu has no intention of achieving peace, said Turkey's foreign ministry. You will recall yesterday's news was all about this Beirut suburb attack and this Hezbollah commander, who was believed to have been killed in response to the attack on the 12 children, in the Golan Heights. I will say there were reports in Middle East Eye had a report about this, that in the Golan, there were reports, Hezbollah did not claim that attack that killed the 12 children. And so Middle East Eye reported, and so did some other Middle East news sources, that they believed it was not Hezbollah that had attacked in the Golan Heights, that it was actually a fallen missile or something from the Iron Dome defense, and that it actually was not a Hezbollah attack that initiated all of this in the beginning. So I just wanted to acknowledge that that was in Middle East Eye and other Middle East news sources. The Lebanese health ministry said 4 people were killed and 74 were injured in that airstrike on Beirut that happened just last night. Adding that one of the fatalities was Fuad Shakur, so it was acknowledged that he had been killed. That was just before Haniyeh's death. The news of the Israeli attack on Beirut had dominated the news. And it was only a few hours before that, Wednesday night, that Hezbollah had confirmed that Shakur's body had been found in the rubble of the building that was hit yesterday. So a few other things I wanted to be sure to let you know about. Gallant Minister of Defense in Israel said, we don't want a war, but we're preparing for all responsibilities. And with that, you need to be ready. We'll do our jobs. The IDF Chief of Staff, Halevi, said that Israel will not accept Hezbollah's presence on the border. Returning to October 6th is not the goal. He said that the only way to prevent war with Hezbollah is the immediate implementation of UN Resolution 1701, which calls for Hezbollah to retreat beyond the Litani River. Israeli authorities announced today that the airspace north of Hadera would be closed for 24 hours because of the security situation. Thus far, Ben Gurion has not been affected, even though some flights I thought I had heard had been canceled. Ali Amar, a Hezbollah representative, said Israel demands war and we're up for it. God willing, we're up for it. There was more in the news today about the arrest of those 8 Israeli soldiers who were suspected of severely sexually abusing the Palestinian detainee in the Seidemann facility. And that had been extended through Sunday. A military court decided. The judge noted that not all of those arrested were suspected of taking part in the abuse, but that they were privy to the inner circle. The judge said it was forbidden to harm prisoners unnecessarily, and that the law and the IDF values state that. Several Israeli journalists were attacked yesterday by a far-right mob protesting the soldiers' arrest. One of the journalists for Ynet said the protesters shoved me, spit on me, called me a slut, an Arab's whore, and a traitor. Ori Isaac, a reporter for Channel 12, was also struck, spat on, verbally attacked by the mob, according to Israeli media. At least 13 Palestinians from the West Bank and Israel have died in Israeli jails since Hamas attacked Israel. So there has been, that's according to Physicians for Human Rights in Israel, an unknown number of prisoners from the Gaza Strip have also died, and rights groups are calling on these conditions to be addressed in Israeli prisons that have been jam-packed and deteriorated dangerously in the wake of October 7th. I would just call on you to look at some of the pictures of inmates, prisoners, many held under administrative detention who have been, you see their pictures before they go in and when they get out. It has been unfathomable, and the conditions have been reported to be abhorrent. Secretary of State Blinken, Qatari Prime Minister, spoke on the phone about securing a ceasefire deal. The UK Foreign Secretary and Defense Secretary are in Qatar to drive efforts to end the conflict in Gaza. It's vital, they said. Qatar has played a key role in mediating the conflict in Gaza, and that we must bring this devastating war to an end. The Qatari Prime Minister said political assassinations and the continued targeting of civilians in Gaza, while talks continued to lead us to ask how can mediation succeed when one party assassinates the negotiator on the other side? In conversations with U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, Minister Gallant said Israel is working to achieve an outline that will return the hostages and does not intend to escalate the situation in the region any further. One of the fathers of a hostage held by Hamas in Gaza said, "We can't let Haniyeh's assassination bring an end to the deal and give a death sentence to our loved ones that are held in captivity." Qatari's news agency Al Jazeera said 2 of its employees, a reporter and a photographer, were killed in an Israeli airstrike in Gaza. And the death toll in Gaza, last reported, is 39,445 Palestinians killed. Those wounded is at least 91,073. In the West Bank, an Israeli man in his 50s was seriously wounded in a stabbing attack close to Kiryat Arba in the West Bank, adding that 2 girls were with the man in the vehicle at the time of the attack, but were not injured. And in Iraq, the U.S. carried out a strike in Iraq in self-defense, according to U.S. officials who talked to Reuters. Here we are, we're on the precipice of 300 days of war, ethnic cleansing, genocide, 300 days, who would have imagined? And our hearts just continue to break day after day after day. And I've shared with you, voices from Gaza, voices from Palestine, voices from other parts of the Middle East. And, one of my Israeli friends, an attorney, he often says that Tel Aviv is often looking at the occupation, and it's like sipping cappuccino while sitting on the edge of a volcano. And that's what it feels like in the US today at this moment. We're sitting on the edge of a volcano that's about to explode. And my prayer and my cry is just, Lord, have mercy. Christ, have mercy. So continue in your efforts towards peace. That's the update of what's been happening in the past day. Do not give up hope, and may God go before us toward peace. Amen.